Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2018 Chevy Malibu LS. Up front is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4 and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. If you'd like to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive where I'll be writing a complete article about the Chevy Malibu. As well as if you'd like to see my videos early before they're released here on YouTube, head on over to my Patreon where for only $2 a month you can get all of my content before it's released here on YouTube. But let's get back to that 1.5 liter inline 4. Well, it's a pretty small engine. It's a 1.5 liter with a turbo, but it isn't the only engine option offered in the 2018 Malibu. If you moved up to the Premier trim level, you got a 2 liter turbocharged inline 4 option, or you can do a hybrid option which had a 1.8 liter naturally aspirated as well as a hybrid drivetrain. But this is the smaller option. This is the 1.5 liter turbo. Now the advantage of having the smaller engine with the turbo is that driving around cruising like I am now, I'm not in boost, so I'm getting the fuel economy of a small engine. The bar right now is saying I'm getting about 49 miles to the gallon right now. But then when you get on the highway or when you want to punch it, when you want to pass someone, the turbo will spool and give you that extra little power to do so. Now, paired to it is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Nothing really too crazy here. I will be talking about the shifter a little bit later. I really do like the shifter, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the interior. And then last but not least, the Malibu is front wheel drive. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a bunch of different gauges. On the far left is my tachometer. On the far right is my speedometer. In the middle, up above the screen, we have fuel and coolant temperature. And then we have a screen that can show us a bunch of different things. It's going to be our trip odometer, our fuel economy, any vehicle information. Stuff like that can be found on that screen. On the steering wheel, I have cruise control on the left, and then my options for the center screen on my right, as well as voice control and phone options. To the left, I have my headlight switches, as well as my gauge dimmer switches. And then on the door, we have the window switches, of course, but there's a couple interesting things about these window switches. First of all the windows are one touch down, but none of the windows are one touch back up. So it can touch it once, scroll down, but you have to hold it to bring it back up. Now, the interesting thing about this is that they have a sort of child annoyance protection system. I don't know what you want to call it, but watch this. So I'll do what a kid does and go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and then it locks you out. I'm going up and down, and it doesn't let you do it. It says, no, stop it. So then you have to wait a little bit, and then you can roll it back up. To the right of me, I have a center screen here. Now, this is the upgraded screen because this is the LS model. This is the slightly nicer screen from Chevy. Couple interesting things on here. First of all, you have your OnStar settings. If you have this package that's like roadside assistance, voice commands, and all of that stuff. But you have a button on here that says projection. Now, projection is sort of a very entry-level form of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you want to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you go into the projection menu and you can do it through there as long as your phone is hooked up through USB. The other thing that's really nice about this is that you can use the Chevy app, the My Chevy app with this car. And with that, you get a bunch of really, really cool features. Now, this is my cousin's car and he was showing me all this stuff. So thank you, Colin, for letting me do the review. But a couple interesting things on the app that you can do is, first and foremost, which I think is the most cool, is you can send a address to the car's navigation. So say your kid is driving the car and they don't know how to get home or they don't know how to go somewhere and you're not in the car, through the phone app, you can send them an address and the car will start guiding you there. It'll give you voice commands as well as it'll come up on the screen. That's really cool and ingenious. You can also lock and unlock the car with the phone app, as well as if the check engine light comes on, it'll actually tell you what is wrong with the car. So say your check engine light comes on, you're like, oh, I don't know what the heck that is. Go to the app and it'll say, hey, there's a cylinder misfire, change out your spark plugs and you'll probably be fine. As I digress about the phone app, the center screen also is where your backup camera will come up whenever you use it. Down below the center screen, you get your hazard button, which cool thing about this is when you turn on the hazard button, the actual button itself flashes. So if you're hard of hearing or you can't hear the blinkers when they're on or you have the music up too loud, something like that, you can actually physically see when your flashers are on the button. I think that's a really cool touch. Down below the hazards, you have your climate control options. Very easy to see buttons. It's very hard to miss, and it's very obvious what each button does. For instance, if you want it towards your head, you just hit the arrow that points to the head. If you want it towards your feet, you hit that button. Then you have a cigarette lighter, 12-volt outlet, as they're called. I call them cigarette lighters, but I know they're just 12-volt outlets. Then you have your traction control off button, which is just above the shifter. You can just hit it once and it'll kind of turn off traction control, or if you hold it for about 10 seconds, it will turn off traction control completely, which is nice that you get sort of 2 levels of traction control adjustability. Then you have the shifter, which I really like. It really clicks into place. It's very tactile. It feels good when you shift, and I really like that. I don't like the new rotary dials. I don't like, the weird shifters that look like joysticks. This is an old-fashioned shifter, and I really like that. And you can plus minus on top of the shifter if you'd really like to do that. But we will be talking about that after we talk about the rest of the interior, because this car has a feature that I absolutely hate, but you can use the shifter to fix that. Then you have 2 cup holders and a center console. Now, the seats are cloth. They're pretty comfortable. They're not bad. They're pretty basic cloth seats. They're not wowing me. I'm not going to go to a junkyard and try to find some of these to put into my own car, but they are relatively comfortable, and they are manual, but they're 6-way adjustable. So you can do the back, obviously, but you could also pump up and down and move your seat up and down and then forward and back as well. So it is manual, but it is 6-way adjustable, which is handy, and the passenger seat is 6-way adjustable as well. Now it is a 4-door, 5-seater, so we will do a back seat review. All right, so I am in the back of the 2018 Malibu, and nothing too crazy back here. I do have another cigarette lighter / 12-volt charger down below. It's one of 2 in the car, so you get one up front, one down here. Other than that, seats are not super comfortable, but it is because I am a little bit bigger than your average person, so the indents are kind of skinny. I do have a center console here, 2 cup holders. I have some tie downs back there for child seats, if that's something you require. But other than that, nothing crazy back here. 2 seat back pockets, and that's about it. I wouldn't be mad riding back here. I wouldn't have trouble. It's not going to be a Bentley back here, but it's also, you're not paying Bentley prices for this. So last thing about the interior is that I really like this fabric that goes across the dashboard. I like when auto manufacturers mix different materials in the interior. It makes the car feel a lot nicer than it is, just your stock base rental cars. It's plastic as far as the eye can see, but it actually gets broken up by this sort of fabric, and I like that. I really do. Now, like I said, this is the LS model, so this has a couple of options over the base. It still gets the basic 1.5-liter turbo engine and 6-speed automatic, but you get 16-inch alloy wheels, the Chevy MyLink radio, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay, 4G LTE Wi-Fi, so you actually can, if you pay month to month, you can have a Wi-Fi hotspot in your Malibu. You get a USB port, compass for outside temperatures and stuff like that, and then a couple other little trim bits here and there. So let's talk about the exterior. I think this car looks really good. On the back, you might be noticing my cousin actually did add extra lights, LED lights for safety. Those are not stock lights, so the stock Malibu does not have those bottom little lights, and I'll point that out in the video. But I think the Malibu does look pretty good. It's not a showstopper, but it's a pretty sleek car. And I like that. It's not in your face, but it's not the most mundane of the mundane. Now, let's talk about that feature that I absolutely hate. The Chevy Malibu has the auto start-stop feature. Now, what this does is when you pull up to a stoplight or stop sign or what have you, whenever the vehicle is stopped for a period of time but still in drive, the car actually shuts off. This is to cut down on pollution. Theoretically, if every car in a traffic jam shuts off while it's in the traffic jam, you're going to be putting out less CO2 into the atmosphere than if all the cars were on. I understand what Chevy's trying to do, and I understand what GM's trying to do. I'm not quite sure if it saves you gas or if it saves the environment all that much. It might. It totally might. I'm not sure. But it is very, very annoying. And the worst part about it is that there's no way to actually turn it off in the car. There's no setting in the dashboard, nothing like that you can turn it off. That really bothers me. If you don't understand how auto start stop works, this is how it works. All right, so I'm driving normally. I'm coming up to a stop here, so I'm gonna apply some brakes, applying brakes, and stopped. And it shuts off. Back on the gas and it turns right back on. If you do want to stop it from doing that, there is kind of a cheat code where you could put the car down into L and then shift up manually a couple of gears, and you'll trick the car into thinking that it's in a higher gear and it won't shut off. That is a workaround. That is a kind of a loophole in the system. Chevy, just give us an option to turn off the auto start stop. I'm sure 90% of Chevy owners don't mind it. They leave it on. They like the feature and they leave it on. But for that 10%, please just put a setting. BMWs have the same feature, but they have a button that turns it off. Just please give us something. Overall, I'm actually pretty happy with the Malibu. Now this Malibu, as it's spec'd out, is around $24,000 to $25,000, obviously depending on your dealership and incentives and all of that stuff. But $24,000, that's not bad for a non-compact sedan. I mean, this is not a compact. It's obviously bigger than the Sonic and stuff like that. You actually get a lot more room in here than you would a smaller car, and for not that much bigger of a price jump. I think, honestly, if Chevy just added a start-stop deactivation feature, I would love this car a lot more. Because I really do like the shifter. I think the shifter's great. The 1.5-liter turbo is not the most sluggish thing in the world. It's definitely adequate, and it can get up to 50 miles per gallon, which is great for a huge sedan like this. I mean, it really is a win-win when it comes to power, comfortability, and price. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 2018 Chevy Malibu LS. Thank you, Colin, for letting me review your Malibu. I am genuinely surprised. I do like this car a lot more than I thought I would. Just Chevy, add a feature, even do a software update. Just give us a software update to make that auto start stop go away. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys. There goes a sight from my soul.